Good evening, everyone, or good day, everyone. Welcome with this session about Fiware. My name is Arjen Hof, and I will tell you a little bit more about Fiware. Just a few things about myself. I think some people might already know me. I've been doing some things in Sweden with different organizations like RISE, but also with Sensitive, one of our partners. Before, till the 1st of January, I worked at another organization called Civity on data management, but I started a new company together with a large infrastructure company in the Netherlands, but still involved in everything that has to do with Fiware. About myself, I'm a member of the Fiware Smart City Committee. I'm an urban planner from origin, so that's the relationship between the two. I like everything about urban planning, urban development in combination with technology and data. I've been working for government agencies for a long time and have had my own company for the last 7 years. I was involved in 2 large European projects, Score Water and Iris, as you can see at the bottom. In both projects, the city of Gothenburg was involved as well. Score Water was about sustainable water management and Iris is about energy transition. I'm also a co-founder of the Dutch Fiware Lab. I will go into that more in depth later on. And we have been involved in everything that has to do with Fiware since 2015. So let me tell you a little bit more about Fiware and what it is. This is a picture from the beginning, but it still explains what Fiware is about. If you ask people about Fiware, they mostly will talk about the technology part, the open source components that are available that you can see on the left. That's also Fiware. It is an open standard platform for connecting real-time data, open source technology based on standards. But even more important for us was the whole idea about the ecosystem. If you build something in a city or want to become a smart city, it's not one party that can do everything. It's not only research institutes, government agencies, but it's also about citizens. It's also about businesses who work on it. So Fiware is a combination of technology, an open platform, and an ecosystem trying to connect all stakeholders involved. This ecosystem has evolved into what is called the Fiware iHubs, and I will tell something more about that later as well. So it's good to remember that Fiware is not only about the technology, but also about the ecosystem. And that was one of the reasons why we joined Fiware 6 years ago, because we think that if you want to become a smart city, that you should not look only at technology. There is too much focus on technology in general in cities, but it's just important to work on collaboration with all stakeholders involved. Then if you look at Fiware, what it is in the platform part, then there are several components in this high-level architecture. You can see at the bottom there are all kinds of interfaces to IoT devices, robotics and third-party systems, connecting it to the main component in the middle, the context broker, that is collecting and distributing all the data that is gathered from these devices. And at the top you see the context and processing analysis is all kinds of software components that make it possible to visualize the data, create a digital twin or a dashboard or an app. And it is supported by deployment tools to make it easy to deploy all these components on your own infrastructure. And it is supported by all kinds of data management tools and also a business ecosystem that you can use to monetize on all kinds of solutions that you have developed. It's not that Fiware is all or nothing. If you want to be Fiware compliant, you should at least use the context broker in the middle, and that's one of the mandatory components that you need to use. And the other ones you can supplement with your own technology and your own things, as long as you focus on interoperability, open standards, and other kinds of things. So you can assemble and connect it with things you already have. So it's also important that people sometimes think that you need to have everything from Fiware, but you need to have the context broker and can complete it with your own technology. If you have these components, and if you talk about the context broker, that's the main part, because the context broker is supporting, if you look at smart cities, a very important thing about Fiware is that we believe that if you talk about cities, it's all about contextual information. Where is the bus stop? When will the next bus arrive? Where's a traffic jam? How long do I need to wait before the traffic light becomes green to continue, etc. All kinds of information about what is going on in your city, where it is happening, when it will happen, and why it is happening. And connecting these kind of information, this contact information, creates a rich system for your city to work on. And you can see over here, it's also focusing on the digital twin part, your digital representation of your physical city, where you can connect all these real-time data from the Fiware platform. I'm talking about smart cities, but Fiware is not only for smart cities, but it's also for agriculture, health, and other things. If you look at these two pictures, one about agriculture, one about cities, then you see two similar things in each picture. In the middle, you see the entities that are the main thing if you talk about context information. And entities are, for example, a shop, or a citizen, or an incident, or a bus. Or if you talk about agriculture, entities are crop, or a drone, or a tractor, or something like that. And each entity has attributes. So a bus has a location, has a number of passengers, there's a driver, it has a license plate, etc. And this combination of entities and attributes and connecting them together, that's basically what you are doing if you talk about contextual information and connecting these different things. And this generic approach for agriculture, for cities, for health, makes Fiware very strong to use and reuse within cities. You can see it over here in this architecture. If you look at the context broker as a connecting entity that makes it possible to supply all the data, that you connect it to information about a bus or a shop, etc., and can tell you if the shop is open, when will the next bus arrive, etc. This information is published in a standardized way. Fiware has an open API, it's called NGSI, Next Generation Service Interface, and they have a version now that supports linked data as well. This is a lot of information on this sheet, but it's important to know that if we share this context information and make it available in a digital twin, for example, that we are looking for ways to move beyond all the vertical solutions that there are, solutions for parking, for waste management, for air quality measuring, etc., and trying to connect them and create these silos that you now have about IoT or information systems and connect these silos to a more integrated approach. And the reference architecture for a smart city will, in our perspective, not be that there is one big system doing everything, but there will be a system of systems. There will be many different platforms doing specific parts, connecting these different systems and make them interoperable, and using the data from these systems to support decision making is key if you want to improve your city and the quality of living in your city. Key properties for these kind of solutions are that it should be easy to replace different things, so no lock-in, no monolithic system. It should be easy to extend it with newly developed components. It should be not completely integrated but loosely coupled, and it should not mean that you have to change your existing system, but that you can connect and use what you already have. To make that possible within Fiware, Fiware is not only focusing on these technical components, but as I mentioned before, it's more about standards and open standards. And one initiative that Fiware is running now is about smart data models. And smart data models are a way to describe the information in a standardized way so that it is easy to reuse it for different purposes. Fiverr is not doing that alone because there are many standards already existing. There are many organizations working on standards, and Fiverr is collaborating with those organizations to create a library of common data models for smart cities, for agri-food, etc. And for smart cities, there are data models about parking spots or EV charging or air quality or all kinds of topics that can be used in systems to harmonize and standardize your data. As I said, they work together with or reuse what is already existing. So, for example, Etsy is a standardization organization. They work on SAREF, and there are other bodies like TM Forum or GSMM also working on these kind of things. You have a few examples over here. I won't mention them all, so you can read the sheets yourself, but like these kind of endorsement that Fiware is getting from these organizations makes it very powerful in the sense that it is not inventing it themselves, but reaching out to these organizations to work together to create a widely adopted number of data models and standards. And a few other examples from smart industry. There are also organizations working on standardization. Smart cities, a few are very important, like the Open and Agile Smart Cities Initiative. It's over 130 cities in more than 25 countries working together, adopting this common API that Fiverr has developed, adopting the open data publication platforms, and also working together in the definition of data models. So this collaboration has led to a very extensive library already where everyone can contribute and add their own information to make it openly available for others. Collaboration with TM Forum is also very important because TM Forum is an organization that was founded a long time ago from the telco industry, but their ideas about governance and open APIs and monetization and business concepts adds to the things that Fiverr is developing to create a very mature and solid business application at it. And NIST is the American Institute for Standards and Technology. So Fiverr is not something that is only working in Europe, but there's a large connection with what is happening in India, in Mexico, Southern America, and the United States, for example. So to summarize, I'm mainly involved in smart city initiatives. To become truly smart, Fiverr helps to break the information from all the different silos and create this context data and make it available through a standard API so that you can over different domains have a citywide and insight in what is happening. It's collaborating on these info models that I mentioned, supporting this open innovation. It's very important that if you have these standards in place, it's much more easy for startups, for large companies to create new solutions on top of that. And that is enabling the data economy that everyone is talking about, but that Fiverr is making possible. One more thing to add about this topic is that, as said, Fiverr is not about the technology. While I was talking about a lot about the technology part and the components, but the Fiverr iHubs initiative is a more community-driven project that is connecting a lot of other things as well. The iHubs is a meeting place and a community to help local businesses and local initiatives grow based on Fiware knowledge, Fiware projects that is going on. And as you can see here, there are different parts of this Fiware iHubs. There is a physical iHub center where you can meet and connect to other parties involved and exchange information. There's a Fiware iHub lab, and an iHub lab is basically a testing environment that if you have a great idea but want to test it and use Fiware components, that you can use this lab environment to use the Fiware products and services and see if they fit your solution as well. You can have mentoring, and there's a school with a lot of education and learning tools available to learn more about Fiware from a technical perspective, but also from a business perspective. As I mentioned in the beginning, we have a Fiware iHub in the Netherlands. We are one of the co-founders of the Fiware iHub in the Netherlands. We run this lab environment where every company can test their solutions, and we have a learning center and school added, so if people want education about what is Fiware, how it can work for you, we all offer these kind of solutions within our Dutch Fiware iHub instance. So basically this was my introduction into Fiware, and later on I will discuss with Mats a few extra topics about these things and our experiences and learnings in the Netherlands from these initiatives. So for this moment, this is my introduction about Fiware.